Good morning, everyone. This is Midnight Brands coming to you with Prep Breath for Monday, May 8th, 2023. Just a minute after 6:15 here in the morning, and going to go ahead and jump right into things here. Hopefully, everybody had a great, lovely weekend. We are going to get started here just by closing our office doors real quick and making sure we are good to start. And hopefully, everybody had a great weekend. We'll get started off as usual with SVXY. Alright, so SVXY, really clean one to jump right into. Wasn't a whole lot of stuff on there as we took a look at it last night over this weekend. Turn down that volume just a touch more. So pretty clean levels there. Gap fill, photo ADRs. There is the full just above there, depending upon what, where, how we open and stuff. And at the moment, SVXY 6796, so basically unchanged from where things were when we grabbed the screenshots. So in any event, we do have the full ADRs, just a touch higher, and they are with the tier 2 daily cheat, so you can keep them there in your mind. We'll just have to see how things play out. Similar lower, we have the quarterly trend guide reversal, tier 1 daily cheat, and there's a gap fill just a touch higher. It's a pretty good range gap too. Like you can see, there's just a lot of error between this quarterly trend guide reversal and the kind of wick up there last week on May 1st. Under, we have trend guide reversal. You could say it's all by itself, but you can see we also have a little bit of this structure in this area here. So this would prove interesting to see how things play out with regards to kind of this trend guide reversal area. Under, pretty straightforward, and it's one that we added, weekly pivot, trend strength reference point. It is definitely inside. You can see it's smack dab in the middle of all this up, down stuff here. So not placing a ton of weight in that one. Lower though, we did combine the monthly pivot, daily trend guide, as well as the div with the 20-day EMA and the tier 1 daily cheat. And you can see part of that is also just like it's where we push back above. We had that dip below, then push back above to hold the look set up with 20-day and the daily anchored VWAP in there. And then under, got a nice one with AR1 photo ADRs. Again, similar thing, the fulls are just beneath that, although there's a lot of open space really if we decide to take out this to potentially even come back and grab the 50. So definitely be something to be keep an eye on if we decide to lose this photo ADR AR1 stuff. Then to see us come down and take out this stuff and potentially even do a lower low and go tag the 6450-ish level. Moving on, we'll get into VIX here. So VIX has been kind of jumpy back and forth the last handful of days. Definitely did a little bit of a div there. Went down and just about touched annual pivot. Dick for tick, the stinking gap fill there on that day too. Am I looking at the right one? No, I grabbed the wrong one. This is not SPY or VIX. That's SPY. I must have clicked the wrong one. What a rookie move. There we go. There's VIX. Okay, so VIX, now that I have the right chart in front of me and I can see the right stuff, it has definitely been range expanding here the last handful of days. It had been in the 75 to $1.20 give or take, and it is now starting to pop back up $1.60 to $2, $1.70 even at the 5-day ADR. So definitely trying to expand. So because that kind of expanded some of the zones here, expanded this top one up to include weekly trend guide. You can see in there's a bunch of other things with tier 1 end of week cheat, tier 3 daily, gap fill in there. Yeah, it's just a lot of stuff. Underneath that, you have your high supply and demand, as well as your photo ADRs. and your tier 2 daily cheat. Right now VIX is at 1756, so gapping just a little bit, 40 cents there. It is trying to clear this trend strength reference point zone. In fact, a little bit above it. So we'll see. I mean, this 50-day has definitely proven a lot of problems. It has tried it, once, twice, 3, poked above, 4, and then got to it and failed. So it is got to be one to keep an eye on. If we clear that 50-day, things can get really violent. That said, you can see there's also an ABCD pattern here, and I mean that takes it out much lower from what we looked at last week. In any event, moving back, as I noted here, you can split these two zones apart like I did, and I separated it out to put the 50-day separate with the lower edge of the supply and demand, and dragged up the zone above it to include the tier 2 daily cheat. Under, get our monthly trend guide, supply and demand. That is, got pulled up a little bit. You could pull it back down. I decided to pull it up and kind of ignore the gap fill and tier 1 daily cheat there, thinking that if we come up here to this weekly pivot point daily trend guide, as well as the 20-day and whatnot there, like why just stop at the gap fill, go up and grab the higher stuff there. All right, underneath that, like I said, trend strength reference point, there's a little bit of structure there historically at that 1730 monthly pivot. Lower is trend guide reversal. Really, it's all by itself. I mean, it just doesn't really do it for me. It's there. Underneath, though, you do have gap fill, supply and demand, tier 1 daily cheat. Sorry. And then further down below, we get our photo ADRs, weekly trend guide reversal, and a little bit of auto supply and demand stuff being plotted out there. I doubt we'll see this stuff way here lower. That'd be a really massive outsized type of move. All right, and let's try this one again. So now we're looking at SPY, and it has definitely been kind of up and down throughout, and just tick for tick, the gap filled down here the last few times. It's not included today because you can see full ADRs are good distance away from that stuff, and at the moment SPY is at 413.30, so definitely trying to push up a gap a little bit, trying to get above this this area here. Zoom in. So trying to go back and get close to Friday's highs. Indices are trying to push as well. They all have a little bit of ways until they get to their trend guide reversals for the day. In any event, going to start up at the high. So you've got your tier 2 daily cheat, tier 3 daily cheat, and your weekly trend guide reversal. That is way up there. That is also pushing beyond even the full ADRs. Full ADRs would move up because this is based upon where they closed on Friday. So if it is gapping up by 70-ish cents, that's going to put it probably more in the middle here at 14. So it definitely could put it in the range of possibilities for today. Get people super excited for the 420s. Probably see a bunch of 420 calls even go off if we do continue to push. And probably they'll end up stopping it here right around 419 and leave this for later. Underneath, you get your photo ADRs, your tier 2 daily cheat, and supply and demand high there. Further, we run into our daily trend guide reversal, tier 1 daily cheat, supply and demand low. And you can see we ended up trying this area a few times, try, fail, poke through, come back and test, and then break through it. And then, so this would be potentially a test coming back up into it to see what we're going to do. So underneath that, in any event, we'll move down. You get into trend strength, multi-day pivot, weekly pivot, and I left them separate you can include it as one, but right underneath is the combo point of control and structure at the 411-ish area. Further below is the daily trend guide and 20-day EMA. There's also a swing anchored VWAP in there from the lows on March 4th at 11:30, as you can see. And then underneath that, we end up with our monthly trend guide, gap fill, tier 2 daily cheat, structure at 408, and full ADRs will move up a little bit. You can see right now they're at about probably 407.50. So they'll move up again about 70 cents, which should push them just a little bit outside of the zone. But they'll still be down in that neighborhood. And then underneath, chose to kind of split these into two zones. So you get your 50-day tier 3 daily cheat, supply and demand. Again, this is why we split them up. So treating this as one zone with the tier 3 daily cheat, 50-day, and swing anchor VWAP. The daily will be right there. No, there's not a daily right there. Well, there's got to be from March 20th. In any event, split that up so we have right beneath it your weekly trend guide, supply demand, gap fill, combo high volume node. Next up are the Qs. A lot of zone div things here. Did note in here the ABCD. There's one kind of in the SPY, but this one was a little bit more prevalent and clear. So not a whole lot of change. The Qs are at 322.92 at the moment, so pretty unchanged from where we closed. Puts most of those things still in the same spot. And so at the far upside is your weekly photo ADRs. Your tier 1 OPEX cheat is in there too, and a gap fill. Underneath that, there is a monthly trend guide reversal. It was really all by itself there at 331 ish. So you could include that with, say, like, make this kind of zone here a little bit bigger and pull up the full ADRs to include that. It's up to you on how you want to treat that. But in any event, supply demand, full ADRs. Underneath that, we end up with our weekly trend guide reversal 2, gap fill, tier 1, and a week cheat. And then lower, we start to run into the ABCD completion there, as well as your monthly and weekly trend guide reversals at that spot. And just underneath that, your daily trend guide reversal, combo high value area, the tier 1 daily cheat, and supply demand high. So, and that would be kind of breaking out of this stuff here. Not like breaking out, but I mean, it is kind of trying to get through this big level here, this 321.51, and you can see like we've struggled to get any kind of really good closes. We got a decent one here, but it's not like it's been oh my gosh type of thing. So in any event, we decide to break below that. You have your trend strength reference point and a swing anchored VWAP, as well as that spot I just mentioned at 321.51. It's up to you if you want to include this or not. Right beneath that is weekly pivot tier 1 daily cheat. There's definitely some, try to test against that area before it pushed on Friday there. It's up to you and how you want to think about that one. Underneath though, you get a bigger piece with your daily trend guide reversal, tier 2 daily cheat, monthly pivot, photo ADR is going to be in there. And that zone also includes the combo point of control and a combo high volume node. Underneath that, there's a div in our minds with weekly trend guide, tier 3 daily cheat, 20-day EMA, and there's a combo high volume node there too. Sorry, just checking something else out on the side. But it kind of split this one. You can see here, like, this originally called like monthly pivot, weekly trend guide. Like, they just split this out into a div to treat it separate with the 20-day there by itself. So, anywho, underneath, you end up with another div. You got gap fill, tier 1, and a week cheat, and a combo high volume node there. So, pretty interesting on that front. And then we'll close up here at the lows with 2 spots lower here. So monthly trend guide, supply and demand low, weekly photo ADRs with our weekly fulls down lower at the weekly trend guide 2. And the 50-day will be rising up to join this. And we already have a swing anchored VWAP, daily anchored VWAP is right in this area here too from March 13th. So that is for the Qs. Moving on to ES. Decent number of zones here for ES, but it's had, past couple of days have started to expand the range here, which has been nice. In any event, it is trying to push out this monthly pivot zone here and come up into the tier 1 daily cheat, supply and demand, and combo high volume node on that one. Still really kind of inside of this stuff here for the last few days. We did not mark it as orange of inside, just because it's now starting to push and get a little bit outside of that. And could be interesting because this could actually be a pretty good lower high in this block here. And this 4180, 4170 has just been a big problem here if you just look left. I mean, it's definitely had a lot of challenges in that area there, especially if you look on the daily and you check out the 4180-ish spot. So in any event, since we started there, we'll keep moving up. So above the trend guide reversal, we got a combo high volume node gap fill April's highs, as well as the tier 2 daily cheat and supply and demand low. You can also see there's an NVPOC kind of sneaky right at this kind of supply and demand level there. And so in any event, you've got that there. Moving above that, we end up with our photo ADRs. I'm going to zoom this a little bit to the right so we can see the rest of the text. So gap fill, which I keep saying I need to make time to look at because I don't see a gap fill there. In any event, we have, May's highs, which is last week's IB stat high, our tier 3 daily cheat, and our photo ADRs. And that's definitely been a problem area in the past. You can see moving above that, weekly trend guide reversal, tier 1 end of week cheat, and then structure or supply and demand really at that spot with full ADRs up even higher at our monthly trend guide reversal, gap fill, which we can clearly see. And it looks like there's an NVPOC sneaky one right underneath that there too. So it's actually a much bigger zone, and it's definitely a bigger one of interest. And then above that, supply and demand low, weekly photo ADR. If we get up here, I don't know how much weight I'd put on this. I'd be wanting to see what else is above, and I'm not looking at that here today, as you can see. Underneath that, marked a couple of zones. It's kind of inside-ish, just based upon how things traded last week. So trend strength, weekly pivot, swing anchor VWAP, combo point of control. Underneath that, marked off the the trend guide reversal, supply and demand. This zone here was super wide, and actually it had a separate one there altogether for the 20-day EMA. 20-day EMA is there as well as the daily cheat, but it's just so in the middle of all this stuff here. You can argue there's a little bit of structure in through here at the 4130-ish spot. I gotta watch price action and how breadth is performing to see what we do in here before calling that on marking as a zone that I'd want to take. In any event, underneath that we have our monthly trend guide, swing anchor VWAP, combo high volume node. Definitely some historical structure there at the 4110, 4111, because there's also supply and demand. Also interesting, just beneath that is last week's week IB stat low. Down lower, what do we end up with? We end up with our photo ADRs, 50-day EMA, combo high volume node, tier 3 daily cheat. So a pretty good size zone, but underneath is really the one that's more interesting. You get into full ADRs. These will obviously move up as we've been continuing to progress a little bit here. But this one's more interesting. You've got NVPOC, gap fill, weekly trend guide, as I said, full ADR. So it's a pretty big one. Although the one beneath that gets even even bigger with your annual pivot, quarterly pivot, gap fill from March 29th. And so far, May's lows, of course, we're only now a couple days into 6 days into the trading session for May. So in any event, that is ES. Moving on to NQ. NQ, pretty good size zone way up here at the highs, right? This is really pushing the limit because that would be a weekly photo ADR up there with a monthly trend guide reversal. And yeah, because underneath that you end up with your full ADRs, weekly trend guide reversal too. Could have expanded that to have dragged it down to include the supply demand. It just didn't quite fit right with how we were thinking about some of this stuff. So in any event, underneath that, photo ADRs, supply and demand, NVPOC is actually right there, so probably should have dragged that up a little bit. I'm not going to do that on our side here. 1 second, folks. Yeah, okay, cool. So you got that right there. Underneath that, this one, so this is one I didn't note on the chart, but that weekly trend guide reversal is just all by itself. It's not one that is catching our eye to go, oh my gosh, we have to mark that as a zone. And so we left it by itself. Watch, maybe we div into it. It wasn't one that felt right to mark off all by itself there. So in any event, underneath we end up with trend guide reversal and the tier 2 daily cheat. Below that there is the combo high value area, May's highs, tier 1 daily cheat, and some structure at this spot here. So also obviously weekly IB stat high, which we just talked about because it's May highs, last week's highs. So good spot there. We're pushing into that zone as we speak. It's just the lower edge of it, right? 13,515. So yeah, we are pushing to the lower edge. VWAP is up into that. Is that right? Alright, that's off on the other screen. It's kind of hard to see around a bunch of things. No, it's still flirting around in this lower one here. Yeah, so it's still flirting around in this lower one here. Can't seem to actually clear this swing anchored VWAP from the highs. So it's still in this one with gap fill, supply demand, etc. Obviously a crop load of structure looking left. Okay, so looking left, you get, looking lower, you get trend strength reference point, combo high volume node, tier 1 daily cheat. There's also an NVPOC in there. And as I mentioned, you got this swing from the 8 o'clock hour on Friday. Lower than that, weekly pivot. There's also a swing anchor view up there from May 4th, which would have been Thursday at 3:30. And so that is definitely one. We marked that as inside as well, just given kind of how things traded out on Friday. Underneath that, also kind of marked that as an inside. It is daily trend guide, combo point of control, tier 2 daily cheat, supply demand high. And you can see there is the May 4th 10 a.m. swing anchor VWAP that's coming up to join it. Under, you'll notice here, it kind of split these two. This was really wide and went down and grabbed the photo ADRs and the 20-day EMA and everything else in here. I expect to see this 20-day EMA continue to rise up and join into this block here. In theory, you could have actually probably have said, treat this as a zone from daily trend guide down to monthly pivot. It's up to you and how you want to do that. I chose to keep them separate. Also because just having redone some of the supply and demand zones, it just looked like there was some structure at this spot up here and the lower edge of supply and demand down here. You can kind of see that in the hourly chart. Like we try to poke above, can't get it. And it's similar poke from below, can't break through, and then above, and so slice right through. And it's very potential we come back, test this kind of zone here, like you can see we've done over here in the past. So in any event, underneath Photo ADR's weekly trend guide is that spot right there with the potential div underneath with our full ADRs, combo high volume node, gap fill, tier 1 and weak cheat. You can also see there's a naked VA, which is the dashed blue line, and an NV POC in there. With our monthly trend guide, 200 week SMA, last week's lows, and supply and demand high, all in this block here. Going to move through RTY, YM, pretty straightforward on the zones here, not a whole lot to say. Really did note this one extra kind of div at this spot, but really it's not a whole lot that is catching your eye of, oh my gosh, this is amazing on RTY. Still needs to prove itself and kind of break out of this, trend down. It's definitely not looking pretty, so we're gonna have to keep an eye on that, but there's not a whole lot in here that is super surprising. Although I guess we'll also note out we added this div combo high volume node and gap fill here at this spot. And RTY, looking at the chart, is at 1771, so it's trying to push through that 20-day and come up and test this one. So it's looking like a lot of things, ES, SPY, Qs, etc. are trying to push up and test their trend guide reversal zones. Moving on to YM, super tiny levels, which is great. Not a ton to add to this one either. We did add the Photo ADR, NV POC, Naked VA, Tier 1 daily cheat here, so you added that. Also actually added this monthly pivot point one here. It is by itself, although you can see like we came up and tried to test it here early in the month. Blew right through it. It's been a spot where we've tried to test and figure out what we're doing in there, but it hasn't been a whole lot of decision yet so far. And right now, YM is trading 33,800 and some change. So trying to get through this combo point of control pieces here. Would also note out that we added this monthly trend guide, called it inside. I would call out this as a potential zone here, and I would also probably note that I would expect to see this swing anchor VWAP continue to come up and join trend guide, although again it is really kind of in the middle, but I expect to see this come up to join this zone here. It's 50-day, tier 1 daily cheat, etc. The last thing I'll mention on YM before moving on is we do end up with this kind of nice cluster here that we added, which gets into the lows there the other day. And so that is YM. Moving on to CL and GC. So CL is really continuing to push from that really big 20-day symmetrical extreme where we just fell out of the bed back here. That wick goes even lower, but I dragged this chart up to see what we wanted to on it. YM at the moment is trading up, or excuse me, CL is trading up 73.40-ish, and so it is testing this swing anchor VWAP, and I'm sure actually it's probably driving through it there a little bit. Above, really skipping the Photo ADRs, it's not really with anything in general, so watching for this quarterly pivot zone, the tier 2 daily cheat, tier 1 and the week cheat, and the 20-day EMA in there. So bigger one, you could break this into two if you wanted, and kind of treat this where you get your quarterly pivots, tier 2 daily cheat, and then treat this block here separate. Up to you. Probably just watch this and we come into all of it, but really going to try to be careful. I mean, the way that we failed down into here, the tendency would be fail down, come back, and then push up. So really going to have to kind of watch, if we do continue pushing, where's the right spot to take a short, or potentially to get a pullback like we did here, and even this opportunity in here of just kind of stalling out to get that push up. 200 some ticks off of that. So in any event, so we added this one here, swing A VWAP, combo high volume node, NV-POC, all in this area there, around 7525, 7510-ish level. And then above, 50-day EMA, swing anchored VWAP, tier 3 daily cheat. There you also see there's a gap fill right there and a naked VA. And there's some structure. Historically, that's 7572. Also, if you look here too on the daily, you can see that the daily anchor VWAP is right there with this 50 up here. So, in any event, decide to kill through and break through all that stuff. We're already up at $2 for the ADRs, but I mean, again, CL's had some crazy moves lately. So above that, we did keep and note the high weekly anchor VWAP from April 14th and the gap fill. And then last week's highs. This is also a auto edge supply demand. We dragged this up just a touch. It also is including the NV-POC in there as well, right underneath that gap fill. If we decide to give all of this back, well, then as we noticed, the swing VWAP gap fill NV-POC structure there. But lower, we end up with trend strength reference point, weekly pivot, photo ADRs. Swing anchored VWAP, gap fill. So this is a really good size zone. Didn't include the tier 1 daily cheat stuff there. It's almost on the verge where you could say separated out, given the 50 some, almost 60, 55, 60-ish cent range on it. So, and you can see actually we carved it down a little bit because this was up at like 74, and you can see this is pretty clearly right at like about 70.50. So in any event, lower trend guide and full ADRs with your monthly trend guide reversal 2, just lower with an NV-POC, combo point of control, and tier 2 daily cheat in there. GC can't get above this weekly pivot there. It actually came up and just tagged here a little bit ago, the May 2nd swing anchored VWAP from March 2nd at 3:30 in the morning, and it's trying to fail back down from there into this kind of large trend strength reference point zone. So starting with that one, weekly pivot, trend strength reference point, gap fill, combo point of control. You can see there's an NV-POC just a touch above that. It's the gray dashed line on it. So that's that one. If we keep moving up, then we run into the swing anchor VWAP, naked VA, gap fill, tier 1 daily cheat on that one. And above that, we end up with our tier 2 daily cheat and combo high volume node. Really don't care about that. Would really watch for the daily trend guide, monthly trend guide reversal, gap fill, NV-POC, tier 3 daily cheat. Stuff in this zone with a really big fat zone above that one, even at some structure here, AR1, quarterly trend guide, photo ADRs. You even have your tier 1 OPEX cheat in between these two. But that's a really big zone there to come back up, and would be really interesting too if we came up and just tagged the naked VA and then faded back from there. That could be a nice setup. And gold has continued to just be extended. It took a small little breather, but it hasn't really done anything yet on the 50-day. If we come back over and look at 50, like it, since this push back here in March, it's been pretty extended from the 50. And so maybe this finally gives us a chance to come up, tag this stuff here, and then fade back down and grab the 50-day swing anchor VWAP and set up for the look against that spot. So in the event, if none of that's true and we decide to push further, then we end up with full ADRs, weekly trend guide reversal, supply and demand, low, and such on there. Moving down to the lower edges, so we started with trend strengths. We'll get to this one. So monthly pivot, and 20-day EMA, combo high volume node, gap, NV-POC in here, and naked VA. So pretty good size one there. There's also a combo high volume node, tier or second one on that block. Under daily trend guide reversal, tier 2 daily cheat, swing anchored VWAP, combo high volume node, supply demand. So pretty decent one there. Underneath that, we end up with a div, gap fill, NV-POC, photo ADRs, combo high volume node is what this div is right there. With what I was talking about just a minute ago is the 50-day and daily anchor VWAP. So this would be the look off of this one. Would still be a pretty good size fail, right? Because we're up at 2030-ish. And so that'd be a pretty good size move today. I don't know if we would see that. There wasn't even any really econ today from what I recall seeing. That's why I didn't have that one chart up. Yeah, just wholesale inventories. Tomorrow should be interesting in that we get China imports, exports happening right at midnight, supposedly if China releases on time. And then there's some Fed speak tomorrow. So, any event, that is it, folks. Hopefully everybody's had a good one. Hopefully, again, this helps folks out. And we will try to continue working on trimming this down, because this has been a little bit over 30 some minutes, going into 36. So that is it. Hopefully everybody has a great one, and we will catch y'all later.